Hi guys. So today we'll be talking about what makes a life good. It's one of the oldest, most philosophical questions. Luckily, we have a couple of new ways of looking at it in addition to the ancient ways. So without further ado, let's just jump into this session. Let me quickly present. So question number one is, why is it important to be talking about a good life now? Obviously, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. Everybody is suffering from one form of mental well-being or another. So can we actually design it? Can we gamify this in such a way that we can simulate and create happiness for ourselves? So in today's session, we'll be covering the following areas. The number one, we'll define what a good life is. Number two, we'll learn about a concept called flow. It's in the area of positive psychology. So some of you may already have heard of this field and how flow affects our mental state. Then the third piece is I'll give you some tips and techniques from personal experience. I actually picked up something new to try and gamify your work life and finally to trick your brain by applying lessons from positive psychology and Vedanta to try and get be a little bit happier. So let's quickly get some theory out of the way. I think it's important to understand this. We'll just need these concepts in order to appreciate what comes next. So very quickly, basically, flow is nothing but uh, uh, whenever an activity is done in such a way that the challenge so on the y-axis and the skill or the action capability on the x-axis, when y is equal to x, so you can see this curve, more or less you are in a state where you're engaged, the challenge meets the skill, and you're engaged enough that you're aroused to continue to do the action. There's several states, and I recognize that I jumped without defining the good life, so I'll just take a minute and quickly define what a good life is. Apparently, according to positive psychology, a good life is one where we all do work or any sort of activity with complete immersion, where when you are 100% engrossed in the activity. So, in other words, being in the moment. I think that is how a good life is defined. So if you can now maybe look back to your last week and ask yourself, on what occasions or for what percentage of time was I fully immersed in an activity without any distractions? And I think you'll know where you are on that scale. It's very hard to be, I think, in today's day and age with distractions, it's very hard to get that number above 10-20%. Okay, so now that you understand what the flow basic concept is, and whenever the challenge increases beyond your skill level, so let's say your skill is here and this is your flow zone, but then you increase the challenge, the y-axis goes up, then obviously you now enter a state or a zone where you don't know, or it's out of your comfort zone. So this is your classic, you're being stretched. Either it's a knowledge gap or a skill gap, and you need to struggle to acquire that. And this sometimes bring with it feelings of anxiety, etc. On the other hand, if the challenge stays constant and your skill improves, also happens when you're in the same industry, same job for like over 2 or 3 years, then you run the risk of getting bored with the activity because you know what is to be done. You're probably going to get onto autopilot mode. In addition to these two states, there are also some other states. So just to take you through the overall loop, so when the challenge goes up, we've just seen anxiety, and when the beyond that, when there is a zone where you could get into an arousal state just before entering flow. So here you're almost on the verge of your challenge level meeting your skill level, and there is a particular zone of flow where you're comfortable with the challenge and the skill that you have, and they're both progressing or improving at the same rate. Therefore, you're not getting kicked out of the state of flow. We've all experienced this at some form or other at different stages in our lives. Doctors, for example, sometimes end up performing surgeries, heart surgeries for like 8 hours, or brain surgeries for 14 hours. So time sort of loses its feel, called temporal distortion. For those of you who studied physics, you'll appreciate this. it's a lot. It's everything is relative. So this is in your head. You feel that time is only like an hour has passed, whereas actually 14 hours may have passed in absolute terms. Then you start getting into the control zone where again the skill is higher, and then the challenge stays same. So you're getting so good at this running the 100 meters that you can control the activity. So you can go up, you can go down. It's like playing chess with when you are an advanced player with somebody who's a beginner. Finally it becomes so easy for you that the challenge is so low and the skill is so high that you're basically like completely relaxed. Imagine you've taught the same class for 10 years, and then you can just you can repeat yourself. You've had most of the questions already over the last 10 years, so you don't really have to stretch yourself. Then of course you get into the boredom state where now you're like genuinely bored. It's not exciting enough. Most jobs sometimes converge to this point, so you have to constantly re-innovate yourself and maybe like move into different departments, etc. And finally you've got like this zone of apathy where the skill is also low, but then the challenge is extremely low, so you don't really like care much about what you're doing. Now that we know what the concept of flow is and how it works, the various stages, so let's look at how you can game it. Like, how do you increase the quality of your life? How do you make your life good? Assuming the definition is you want to create more opportunities for engrossed activity. Now, bear in mind that we all work a lot. Obviously, work fills a lot of our time. Therefore, it's very difficult to get into like a state of flow when you're designing wireframes for like a new digital product. Sure, you can get in there, but it's not. It depends on the product in concept and how many years you've been doing wireframing. Similarly, coding, again, some tasks may be super easy, some may be super hard. So it will be difficult to get into flow if you purely rely on your managers and your bosses and just the work environment in order to get to that stage. However, you can design for flow by picking up activities outside of work that you enjoy. So, for example, I speak, my mother tongue is Telugu. I learned Hindi in school, and I'm from Hyderabad in India, so we speak Hindi and Telugu and a little English on the streets. I've always wanted to learn a new language, and Urdu is one of our state languages here in Telangana. I see it on the roads quite a bit. Obviously, I understand Urdu because most of it is like Hindi. However, I couldn't read it. So I figured, why don't I try and learn Urdu? And just for fun, I was just teaching myself the alphabets and some words. Luckily, the vocabulary was already there, so it was easy for me to pick up Urdu compared to picking up, let's say, Turkish or French or German. Anyway, so the wonderful thing is, by accident, I figured out that I can actually get into a state of flow whilst learning a completely alien language. And here you can see this is my handwriting. I'm very proud of it. Until a few months ago, this script, which is, as you can see, is written from right to left, as opposed to all of the other Indic languages, which are written from left to right. And those of you who know Urdu will appreciate that the shapes of the letters completely change when you have to use them in the word. Unlike Hindi, where it sort of, the alphabet retains its structure. So it's very complicated. I think Urdu is a lot more difficult compared to Hindi. So here I've written a wonderful couplet, Allah Taale ka apne bando ke sabse khoobsurat tohfa maa hai. I think that should have been ke liye. That's fine. You get the point. And this is, I've juxtaposed Urdu and Hindi so that you can see, for those of you who appreciate like one language, will be able to understand what is going on here. And in a very interesting way, I've actually discovered a way to get into a state of flow. And these could be like in micro flow states. So you can do like a 30-minute practice session. I remember I had similar experiences when I was learning quantum mechanics, when I was solving binomial theorem in school. These were things where you had to like engross yourself or solving long integrations. Um, but getting that feeling for non-technical subjects and humanities, and especially like languages, is something that was very personally very surprising and highly rewarding. Now I'm proud to say I can read this language completely self-taught using thanks to YouTube and a bunch of great professors online. It's unlocked some incredible poetry, obviously. So here there's another one. माँ की एक आदत खुदा से बहुत मिलती है, दोनों ही माफ कर देते हैं. And once again, I'm pretty positive that the handwriting will improve with more practice. But this is something that I've done in order to like get into those micro flow states and gradually increase. I hope you guys found this video useful. Please share it with your friends and family. I'll be back with more content soon. Till then, stay safe, take care, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.